It's time for your Barbados Today Evening News Update. Today, Wednesday, October 21. One person has been charged and 2 others are being questioned in connection with flouting COVID-19 quarantine rules. Word of this from Health and Wellness Minister Lieutenant Colonel Jeffrey Bostic. The development comes on the heels of recent warnings from Chief Medical Officer Dr. Kenneth George that some visitors and locals have been leaving quarantine facilities without permission. Minister Bostic made it clear that the practice must stop.
One of the persons that went missing, the police actually had him in custody yesterday, and I believe a second one today. But the decision to charge that is being investigated at the moment by the police, and then we'll see where we go from there. But fortunately, those persons tested negative on their second test, so it is not a worry, but that is not the point. The point is that we have protocols, and all persons who come to this country, just as if a Barbadian goes to another country, we have to follow the protocols of that country, and we expect visitors to follow the protocols that are established by the Ministry of Health and Wellness of Barbados.
He, however, served notice that government will soon be able to better monitor persons ordered into quarantine with the use of technology and the island's security forces.
Wristbands that would allow us to track persons, and we have geofencing the facilities, and some COVID apps that will be coming on stream within the next week or 2 weeks. And actually we have some members of the company that's dealing with this for us that have flown in and are here now doing training with our IT personnel to be able to mobilize the app and the wristband. So once we have these, that is going to significantly enhance our capability in terms of being able to monitor persons wherever they are, in whichever facility that they are in. Additionally, we have had discussions with the police and the defense force in relation to having a joint mobile patrol that is available 24/7 to respond immediately to any breaches. So we'll be able to detect them early based on the electronic platform that we are establishing. And then we have mechanisms in place to be able to respond and deal with such persons. And of course, the legislation is there.
In other news this Wednesday, police are continuing investigations into a break-in at the St. Leonard's Boys' School that occurred early this morning. As a result, the school was closed today. General Secretary of the Barbados Union of Teachers, HERBERT GITTENS, says schools should not be the target of bandits.
We would hope that these things don't affect, the school population, and I would trust that the police will continue to do their work to bring crime down or keep it at a standstill. So we're going to continue to be vigilant and keep an eye out there, because if we see any increase, we will certainly have to find a way to have discussions with the authorities to see what measures can be put in place.
Gittens added that the union and the Ministry of Education have been discussing the issue of security. He told Barbados Today they have examined proposals including the introduction of surveillance cameras at schools to support the efforts of security guards. He also suggests that schools could benefit from increased patrols by the Royal Barbados Police Force.
Drive-throughs from the police force and so on, some kind of presence at some time, you can't be at the school doing the security, but they can drive through from time to time. Things like these can help enhance the security at these institutions.
Solutions Barbados candidate GRENVILLE PHILLIPS tells his political opponents that opting out of televised political debates ahead of the upcoming St. George North by-election is not a wise move. On Tuesday, Democratic Labour Party candidate Floyd Reefer bowed out of the debates, and today the United Progressive Party said its candidate Ambrose Grosvenor will not be participating. But Phillips maintains debates are useful.
By participating, candidates have the opportunity to both explain their plans to voters and defend their plans from scrutiny from other candidates and the moderator. At present, candidates are simply mentioning their plans to voters, but neither our professional organizations or journalists are checking to see whether the plans are workable. Neither are they questioning whether the candidates have any capacity to implement their plans. The debates are an opportunity to expose the plans to scrutiny.
Meanwhile, United Progressive Party Chairman Everton Holligan declares that Barbados is not a two-party country. He knocked the notion that a successful politician must either belong to the Barbados Labour Party or the Democratic Labour Party. He insists that such views are holding the country back.
Old age pundits that continue to gatekeep for all parties is what creates this devolution of our society. So our people are not evolving the way they should be. Progress is not being made the way it should be because we are telling young people and other students of political institutions that if they want to progress in a society or develop a political career or help people, they have to join themselves onto a party. And this is why we are staying organic and we are not looking for favors to join ourselves to any particular party. And this is why I celebrate Ambrose Grosvenor and all the other candidates who decided that it was important to stay independent and to join new parties and work hard, because it is hard work to build something. And if you can't teach young people to build something from the ground up, just hook your bandwagon onto something that currently exists, then we are running right back into colonialism.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Barbados Today, news you can trust.
Welcome back to regional happenings in Grenada. Questions are being raised about the enforcement of the island's COVID-19 regulations. Under the regulations, residents are required to wear masks in public spaces, or they could be charged or ticketed. But there have been complaints that some persons are being ticketed by police even when they're driving alone in their vehicles without a mask. More in this report from GBN News.
Attorney Ruggles Ferguson says the avoidance of doubt lies in the sound definition of what is a public space.
One view on it could be that you are in a private car on the public road, which represents a public space, or that you are in your private vehicle. And therefore, if you are, once you are within the confines of that vehicle, then it ought not to be considered a public space. So that is an issue because it is so critical, and the wearing of masks ought to be in a public space. Then the public space should be defined for the purpose of the regulations. And once it is left up to the discretion of an officer, then one officer who stops you in St. Paul's might say, well, you're driving your car, it's not a public space. Somebody who stops you in Satés might say, hey, you're on the public road, and therefore you're in a public space, and therefore you are liable to be ticketed in those circumstances.
Further afield, Pope Francis today said he thinks same-sex couples should be allowed to have civil unions. Observers say the comments are his clearest remarks yet on gay relationships.
He says that gay people, LGBT people, have the right to be protected by civil unions. He says they're children of God, and as such, they need that kind of protection. He says he stood for it before, and he's referring to the Bishop of Buenos Aires. He came out in favor of some sort of civil union for gay people. He was against gay marriage, but he says that gay people, same-sex families, have a right to be a family just like everybody else.
Reaction to this, Megan, been among Catholic Church members?
Well, obviously, I mean, I've spoken to several representatives of LGBT Catholic groups. They're elated. They say that this is a step towards full recognition that they've been fighting for within the Catholic Church. Catholic observers say that this really isn't a big deal in countries like Canada and the United States and much of Europe, where there are civil unions and marriage for same-sex couples. But this is a big message to other parts of the world, particularly countries in Africa and other countries where being gay is still illegal.
That's news, but for the very latest, visit our website at www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, or like us on Facebook, and sign up for our breaking news alerts via WhatsApp. We're also on Izumi Media and bus terminals, as well as screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. You can also hear us on Mix 96.9 FM and Capital Media HD 99.3 FM.